Brian, I wanted to strangle you at some points, but I like you. So have a great day, man.
Yeah, I made a few videos since 2015 denying the flat Earth. So I guess I got thousands of hits. I get about 7,000 hits a day. So a lot of the flat earthers are saying, "Hey, you should talk to Flat Earth Dave."
There you go.
So I guess one of them must have contacted you.
This will be a great conversation if the internet holds up. But if not, we're gonna have to redo it. So where do you want to start? Like, what? Give me. So here's the thing. I go out. I talk flat Earth all the time. I tell people, give me one globe proof, and I give you 3 bitcoins. And so far, no one's been able to do it. So maybe we start. You know, I have that looks exactly like my cat that I have here with me. I have the same cat.
His name's Happy. He's a year old.
All right. Well, mine's older, and his name is Naki, stand for Anunnaki. So where do you want to start? Like, what's like maybe we just do like a little Q&A. Like, what's your best proof of the globe, or your reason you think flat Earth is stupid, and then maybe I can address it.
Okay. So this is the video. Have we already started, or what? I usually start off with a date.
Go. Feel free to start. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll say, start off with a date. Welcome to the Brian Ruhe Show. It's January the 9th, 2024. I'm with Dave Weiss, who's Flat Earth Dave, and I don't believe in the flat Earth. He does, so we're going to have a conversation about this. So I guess your first question is, what sort of proof do I have? Well, first I should introduce you and say, hi, Dave. Welcome to the show.
Brian, thanks for having me. And the viewers don't know it, but we've been having some major internet connection issues. So it's breaking up, and hopefully we're hoping for the best. Hoping things have settled up. So I'm doing great. I'm here talking to you across the plain from the outer lands of Mexico, and looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, so you're just asking me sort of what evidence do I have that there's spherical. Well, there's several things. I've got one I'll start off with is the Coriolis effect. Means freely moving things like cannonballs or hurricane winds are deflected to the right, but only if you're in the north of the equator. And if you're south of the equator, they're deflected left. So this indicates a spherical Earth.
Yeah, well, that could indicate a spherical Earth, except there's other explanations for it. One thing is snipers don't use Coriolis. There's one video, one sniper saying that he does use Coriolis. We've spoken with many snipers, including the people that just did the world record, 4.5 miles. The bullet was in the air for 27 seconds, and they did not factor in Coriolis at all. So let me show you here. What we think Coriolis is, and then we can go from there. You know, people say toilets spin backwards in opposite hemispheres. That's not true. It's just the way the water enters the basin. And I actually I'm here in Mexico, and I'm filming toilets flushing, and some go to the left, some go straight down. I'm looking for some that go to the right. So
yeah, mine always go clockwise. I'm in the northern hemisphere in Vancouver, Canada.
But at my home, I have one that goes clockwise and one that goes counterclockwise. It's just how the basin is designed and how the water flows into the basin. So this is my Flat Earth Clock app, and it shows you how the sun goes around. And let me make it a little bigger. So the outer yellow line is the Tropic of Capricorn. The inner yellow line is the Tropic of Cancer. The sun and the moon are always in between the tropics, and the sun and the moon and the flat Earth are we live in an electromagnetic world. Everything has an electric charge to it. So the sun and the moon are making an electromagnetic wake, and that's like pushing your hand through water or a paddle through the water. You get counter rotating vortices. Now there's often times where there is a counterclockwise storm in the outer south that will cross the equator and be rotating in the not correct direction. And that's just because it crossed at a time where the sun and the moon weren't pushing it away. And it happens, I think it happens like almost every year, or, often it happens. So if Coriolis was real, that could never happen. So there's just another explanation of what Coriolis is, and the fact that snipers, balloons, airplanes never account for it. It's just something we're taught in school to make us think we live on a globe.
But couldn't that Coriolis effect just have a momentum if it's crossing the equator? It's going a certain way. Couldn't that just momentum continue?
Well, I don't. The whole explanation on the globe for why there's Coriolis, I don't think that it would even do that if we were on a spinning ball spinning. But the problem goes much deeper than that, Brian. Is that we live in on a lumpy rock, surrounded with smooth, curved water, surrounded by high pressure air, adjacent to a void, right? Gas is always.
Well, no, it's not a void. Like space has ether. Like Einstein lied to us saying that space is a vacuum. But prior to Einstein, most people believed that it was ether. And I think he was part of a globalist lie. Einstein was a huge fraud. It's not a vacuum. It's got ether.
We're agreement there. But
That's good.
I've yet to see anybody do an experiment where you can have air adjacent to an ether or a void or vacuum. They tell us, space is a vacuum, not a sucking vacuum, just a lack of pressure. Air gases violently fill the available space. So how does the air stay on the Earth? Are you claiming that the ether is holding it down?
Well, I'd say, gravity would keep it there, and the ether would prevent it from dissipating into space.
All right. Well, that's a new one. I kind of like it, but let's talk about gravity holding the air down. So they tell us that gravity is stronger closer to the Earth, and it gets a little weaker higher up you get. And I do agree that there is a pressure gradient. The higher you go, the thinner the air gets. And the globe believers will say, well, the air just gets thinner and thinner and thinner until there's no more air. But that's not how it works. A simple task we can do is I can get let's say I have a fish tank, a box, a lucite box, and I suck all the air out of it. It's just there's no air in it. And I have a valve on that box on the top, bottom side, doesn't matter. And I open it anywhere, at sea level, top of Mount Everest, in a balloon. And no matter where I open it, it will pull the air up. The air will violently fill it, especially if it's coming from the bottom. I can take a straw right here next to the Earth where the gravity is the strongest, and with the weak low pressure of my mouth and lungs, I can pull air and water up and away from gravity. So how come the Tor 17 vacuum of space isn't pulling the air up and away? Well, I don't have a Tor 17 lungs. I have just a tiny, tiny low pressure system that'll pull the air and water up and away. So the idea that
I would say it's not a vacuum. I would say it's not a vacuum, and still gravity is enough to keep the air around the Earth.
Okay, well that's I'd like to see an experiment that shows that. So let's move on to another one. What else you got?
Okay, another one I have is with triangles. Like if you walk 10,000 kilometers in a straight line along their surface, then turn right 90 degrees, and walk 10,000 kilometers and turn right again another 10,000 kilometers, be back where you same started, having successfully made a triangle, with 3 90-degree angles. And any geometry student can tell you it's impossible on a flat surface, but it happens on a sphere.
Yeah, no one's actually ever done that, and that would only work if you're at the North Pole on a sphere. You'd have to start at the North Pole. You'd have to go south, dead south, and then do 90 degrees turn, and you'd have to be on a sphere. That's just a theoretical idea, and if we were on a sphere, it would be absolutely correct, but nobody has ever done that. And we can look at city blocks. You take a large city that's, like New York City, and you can go do 4 90-degree turns and end up back where you are, and there's no changing. But the argument you have there is that it has to be 10,000 kilometers or whatever. Nobody's ever done it. It's just a theory, and that's pre-assuming we live on a ball, that would be true. So we don't live on a ball. We live on a flat, stationary, provably level, horizontal plane.
Well, I guess if you just take a sphere, any kind of sphere, and draw a straight line, do the
90-degree
turns, a triangle would get you back.
You're 100% right. That is true on a sphere. But no one's ever done that on Earth, because Earth is not a sphere. So
I guess it would be expensive to do it. It'd be expensive and time consuming.
Well, there's easier ways to prove stuff like that. I have a great experiment. We can talk about it a little later. But let me throw something out there. If we're on a ball, there has to be a physical horizon at a certain distance, depending on the size of the ball and the height of the observer, right?
Yeah.
So they tell us the ball is, how big they tell us the Earth is?
Well, it's 8,000 miles in diameter.
Very good. 24,901 miles in circumference at the equator. And that would require 6 feet of curvature at just 3 miles, 66 feet at 10 miles. So a 6 foot tall person standing at the edge of perfectly calm water can only see the surface of that water for 3 miles if the Earth is a globe. And that's if the water is perfectly flat. But we can see much farther. Here's a frozen lake. Large bodies of water at rest lie flat. I think you can pretty much agree with that, hopefully. And they also freeze flat when they're still. So here's a canal. So one of our guys went out and did this at night. Got his camera at 6 inches off the lake, and he placed these 4 lights downrange: 8 miles, 7 miles, 6 miles, and 5 miles. And I used the Pythagorean theorem curvature calculator, and I even added in magical refraction and lowered the numbers. So all of these lights should be 30 feet, 22 feet, 15 feet, and 9 feet below a physical curvature, but they don't. They all magically show up at the same level. So this one is refracting up 30 feet is the only explanation, 22 feet, 15 feet, and 9 feet, but they're all on the same plane. That would be impossible to see on a ball. It would be absolutely.
Well, I would say, well, my answer to that is the curvature of the Earth is 8 inches per mile. A lot of flat earthers say it's 8 inches per mile squared, but it's not squared, just 8 inches per mile.
No.
So if you go like 2 miles, it'd be 8 inches and a further 8.
So no. So you have somebody here, and they go a mile. It drops 8 inches. But that person's now like this. So his next mile isn't on that same plane. It's curved. 8 inches per mile is a slope. That's a flat Earth just at a slope. 8 inches per mile squared is actually the Pythagorean theorem, and that there's 3 or 4 different accepted curvature calculators, and the 8 inches per mile squared is the one that gives the globe the most amount of lenience, the least amount of curve. And up to, I think it's 2,000 miles, it's only off by a few feet, but nobody can see 2,000 miles. That's just an impossibility. So
I think it's 8 inches per mile. I understand it's 8 inches. The second mile is a bit more than 16 inches because of the further curve, but squared is too much. I don't think it's 8 inches squared, just 8 inches per mile.
Well, I can show you that that's not the case. Let me just pull that up real quick for you. We can go over that. That is the curvature. Where is it? That's not it. Where is? Oh, here we go. So, whoops. We all agree that the Pythagorean theorem is real, right? Pythagorean theorem: a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Right?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
So let's go over this. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So we have somebody standing up here and a straight line out. We can measure this in miles, and then the drop would be back down to the Earth, right? So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The drop would be here. Okay, some people would like to drop that line straight down. I say this is less curvature. I'm down with that. No problem. Okay. So they tell us the radius of the Earth is 3,963 miles, and we'll make this 100 miles out, and we'll if we add in a squared, if we excuse me, if we square the numbers, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and we do that, that's 1.2615 miles of drop. You can do the math yourself. I'm just whizzing through it. And that equals 6,660 feet, which is exactly what 8 inches per mile squared would give you. So up to 100 miles, excuse me, up to 100 miles, it works perfectly. So we don't need to really look any farther. So that is 8 inches per mile squared. So you have to look into that further. We don't need to just spend the whole time going over that. You'll see that That is the
Okay,
correct
I'll look
calculation.
into that further.
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely. And here's just a shot in California, Mount Mount San Jacinto. I think I got that right this time. 123 miles away. There should be 7,000 feet of curvature. And I believe this peak right here is just over 7,000 feet. Here's the funny thing. This is with an infrared lens that cuts through the thickness of the atmosphere, the haze. You take off the infrared, this is just blue sky, and you can't see the mountain at all. But put on the infrared, there's the mountain. We can all of a sudden see it. It's not refracting up. And by the way, infrared, if there is refraction, would reduce it. So we can see too far. That's a problem for the globe.
Well, no, I think 123 miles is not a problem. Like I live in Vancouver. I can see Mount Baker in Washington State. It's a 2-hour drive, about 100 miles away, but we can see it.
Welcome to Flat Earth. Welcome to Flat Earth.
No, and the curvature, like it's 10,000 feet high. So the slight curvature of the Earth isn't going to block us off a 10,000-foot mountain.
100 miles, it's going to block off 6,600 feet of it.
Well, I can still see it's a 10,000-foot mountain. I can see, but I can see a lot more than that. I think it's 8 inches per mile, and over 100 miles, it's not going to be that steep.
Well, once you do the math and actually look here, how about this? This will put it to bed. So the higher up you are, the clearer the air is, and when you do the curvature calculator, you have to subtract your height from the amount of curve. So here's a view, and we can see these 8 mountains that are over 700 miles away, right? The Earth, from this altitude, all of these mountains, the tops of these mountains should be over 40 miles below the physical curve. 40 miles. That's a lot of curve, but they're all there at the same level. Now, 40 miles, what is that? 40 miles is, where'd I go? Let me turn that back on.
Well, I still have to calculate that with 8 inches per mile. I still have to calculate that.
You will.
Get back to the original calculation.
And you can use it. You can use it. Some of the other calculators. The Globers don't even argue. The people that are fighting to defend the flat Earth, the ones that make all those videos to trap your mind, like, oh, you could travel 10,000 meters and go right and come back, and it's a triangle. That's a deceptive video because nobody's ever done it. It's just a mathematical concept. Here is a balloon 127,000 feet up. That's only 20 miles. The amount of curvature should be 40 miles blocking those mountains. That just to give you an idea of how far down the curve is, but we can see them. It's just too far. What else you got? What else? But by the way, listen.
I got another for you.
Yeah. Brian, I used to be you. I had all of these same things, and then I started looking, and someone helped me, and I figured out a lot myself. I'm hoping that when we're done, we can still be buddies, and you can look into some of the things I said, and I'll look into anything that you show me. Go ahead. What do you got?
Okay. Yeah, so my next point is the stars at night change as you go north or south. For example, Orion is upside down if you're in Australia. It's the other way in the northern hemisphere, so that shows the world's spherical.
Yeah. So if you and I were in a room together and you're on the far side of the room and I'm on this side and I drew a 6 on the ceiling, what are you going to see?
Well, we would see the same thing on the ceiling.
No, you would see a 9. You would see a 9. That 6 would be upside down to you. Does that mean the room is spherical?
No, it doesn't mean the room's spherical.
But you're seeing it upside down.
But I guess on a sphere in the southern hemisphere, they're looking at Orion this way. Northern hemisphere, we're looking at the opposite way.
If I drew Orion on the center of on the ceiling in my room, and you were on the other side, you'd be looking at it at the opposite way. We're just on the other side of the room. It's upside down to you or upside down to me, depending on how you look at it. That's how it works. Just because you're on the other side of the room.
Okay, I'll have to think about that one then.
Very good, very good. I like it. I like it.
Okay, I got another one for you. How about, ships on the horizon? Like I used to work on a ship on the Great Lakes. Say a ship on the ocean or tall Chicago buildings view over Lake Michigan. Yeah. They disappear from the bottom first, and then you see the sunset twice, actually, if you watch it lying down, then you quickly stand up again. So the fact is, if the Earth were flat, there wouldn't be a horizon beyond which things could disappear. So from across Lake Michigan, you'd be able to see all of Chicago as well as the Rocky Mountains.
Okay, so that's one we're gonna dig into deeper, and it's gonna take a few minutes. But if you pay attention, you're gonna like this one because it's gonna completely dispel all of that. So out here we have our horizon, and I contend that the horizon's not at your eye level. It's actually, when you're looking celestially, it's above your eye level. We'll get into that in a minute. But out here, you don't see a boat. Okay, there's no boat. And as we zoom in, what we're doing is we're increasing the angular size. So as we increase the angular size, you go, oh, look, there's a boat. There's a boat right there. And if we look, the bottom of the boat is missing. So we'll zoom in. Now, my finger can't hide that boat. But if my finger was in the foreground and the boat was getting smaller, you see the boat disappearing from the bottom up. This is just an optical thing. The waves in the future, my finger can block out an entire city skyline. It's the angular size, and then the waves will hide the boat from the bottom. So let me just show you another one that'll help you. So here is, oh, that's the same one. Let me just get rid of that. What's going on here? Oh, yeah. So out here, this is a day with high amplitude waves, which means that there's big space between the swells. Now look at this boat. Look at this boat. Is it going behind the curve, or is it just going behind a swell? And it's going behind a swell. And when you look out, you see a false horizon, and boats will appear to be missing, but it's not over a curve. And when the swell changes, we can see the water well beyond it. Watch this boat right here. That boat, it's going to disappear. A lot of it's going to disappear. Or this one. Look at this one. Now, people will claim that that's over the curve. It's just behind. It's just behind water. It's just behind water on a flat Earth. And we have tons of videos on my app, and I highly recommend you get it. I'm going to give it to you if you want it. If you go to the frequently asked questions, and then you go to boats over the ships over the horizon right there, and there's tons of videos that are being hidden from you on YouTube. All the videos on here, YouTube is hiding them from you. If I hit that and we take a look, all of these videos showing you incredible examples. This one right here called Mirror Line Horizons, Empty Thea Princess. This girl really explains what you're seeing and taught me a whole lot. I highly recommend it. But all of these videos are being hidden from some reason. So these are, the videos that if you search flat Earth, you're going to come across videos like you found, you're going to find videos that make you, that basically straw man the flat Earth. So let's go a little farther.
Still, I would say, though, the seas aren't always choppy. Sometimes the seas are common. For centuries in Europe,
you're right.
See ships coming to the harbor, they see the top of the ship first, and as they get closer, they see more of the ship because it's going below around the curve of the Earth.
Actually, that's
People
a story.
Have seen that for centuries.
Nope, that's actually not true. That's a story that you're told, and I was told it, and I believed it. And they showed us a video in school. We all saw it, of that three-masted ship, and they cut the video, and they each time we went farther, you lost more and more of the ship. But each time they went farther, they actually lowered the camera. They lowered the camera each time. It's a deceptive video. We all were shown the same deceptive video. You can make a ship disappear by filming up high, filming medium, and filming low, and it'll disappear.
But for centuries, people have seen that. People can test it. They go to the ocean right now, go Atlantic Ocean or Pacific. They can see ships from the top. And for centuries, they weren't using cameras centuries ago.
Your eyes cannot see a ship that far. We can see, the ship will disappear because of the angular resolution of the ship before it'll go over any curve. So here's a boat. Here's a boat, right? Now, thank God I have a zoom lens, because watch what happens when I zoom out. When I zoom out, you can't even see the boat anymore. It literally disappears. And if we knew the distance to that boat, the Earth's curvature would make it impossible to see it anyway. So to saying that people
maybe it's not that far, though. Maybe it's not that far.
But I agree. But here's the thing. Even you can't see the boat. It's too small to see. when you zoom out, your eye can only
Yeah,
see.
that's true. It's too small to see because it's far out. But
Right. So,
ships with high masts, 100 feet tall, people would just see the top of the mast because of the curvature that's just
no, it's
blocking the
not
bottom of the
because
ship.
it's not because of curvature. It's because of the swells of the ocean and the thickness of the atmosphere. There's a whole bunch of
But what if there's no swell? There's calm days, right? Sometimes there's calm days where there's no swell.
yeah, and so it doesn't happen on those days. It doesn't happen on
Well,
those days.
it does. In fact,
It
that's when people would notice it
it
more on a calm,
it
clear day.
show me a video of it because we've done hundreds and thousands of videos, right? The boats just go, they go out and they end up miraging. Look at this. So the water is still here, but you think the horizon's here. If this land wasn't there, this would look like a horizon. And the boat is literally, here's the horizon. This is called the mirror line. So everything below here is mirroring what's above it. So this boat is just riding out on water that your eye cannot see because of the angular resolution. And when there's no,
Well, I agree there's angular resolution, but I think that's two different things. Like I could make a video for it, but see, that would take time. I think one of the purposes of the flat earth line is to waste our time and divide the truth movement. So I don't want to take the time because the purpose is to consume our time.
I used to believe that too. And I found out that, the reason for the lie is to keep us slaves living on their fake world. Because if you live on their fake globe, you have to abide by their rules. And when you wake up to the flat earth, you literally step away from them. This is infrared showing you that even these mountains in the distance will disappear. Let me just show you. I got another one I need to find for you. We see too far. Here we go. So this is Canigou Mountain. Let me fix that. Okay. So out here, we're looking from Illusion Fans, and out here is Canigou Mountain, 175 miles away. At 175 miles from this viewing height, the top of the mountain should be well over a half a mile below the curve, and you can't see it. Can't see it. This is actually a clear day. Okay.
Well, that's the same question of the 8 inches per mile. So I still have to do my calculations on that.
Right. Well,
but I want to ask you, what about NASA? Let's talk about NASA.
We will. We're going to go there. We're going to go there.
Okay.
And when I show you, you're gonna it's gonna be interesting. So we can't see it, but remember I showed you the tropics. The sun moves between the tropics, in and out, and twice a year it'll line up between Mount Canigou and this viewing spot in Illusion, France. And when it does, it goes beyond the mountain, and all of a sudden you can see the mountain because it's backlighting it. The light bouncing off of the mountain is not strong enough to push 175 miles through the atmosphere back to your eyes, but the light from the sun is strong enough. And when it backlights the mountain, you can see the entire mountain. Now, this isn't a mirage. You can see the very top of the mountain right there should be well over a half a mile below the curve, but it's not. It's right there. And the only thing the globe believers can say is it's refracting up. The sun is already set. The mountain's already over the curvature. And it's refracting up to try to trick you that the earth is level. Maybe it's just level.
Well, one thing similar to that is when the sun sets, the sun shines underneath the clouds onto the bottom of the clouds, whereas a flat earthers say the sun is always above the clouds. It's only on a spherical earth that the sun sets underneath the clouds and shines underneath the clouds, so that indicates a spherical earth.
Brian, the amount of research that you've done, you've only been fed propaganda videos. So on the app, if we go to the more resources page and we go to the debunking the debunkers on the bottom left there, we have a whole bunch of videos that, whoops, I'll share it this way, that basically go over the clouds, the light under the clouds, perfectly explaining what you're seeing with a mount. I forget the name of the mountain, but
how do you explain it though? The sun above the clouds.
I'm gonna explain it right now. I'm going to show you.
So, you really are prepared. I must admit, you really are prepared.
Because Brian, I was you. I thought it was a waste of time. I thought it was here to discredit truthers. You're probably a very good truther, and I thought this was the dumbest thing ever. So if we go back to my, if we go back to the image search here, and I just put clouds, sun under clouds, sun under. There we go. So this is the picture I actually took myself. Let me make it bigger. So here is the sun clearly underneath the clouds, and the clouds are dark, except the tops of the clouds are lit. This is due to perspective. Now, I want you to think about this, about this perspective. When, let's say you're standing next to a highway overpass, okay? It's way over your head, and you're looking underneath the overpass, which is off to your side, maybe 20 yards, whatever, and you can see the sun in the distance. Is that sun below the overpass, or is it above it?
No, it's above the overpass.
But perspective makes you think that it makes it look like it's lower. So going back before, we're going to talk about the horizon, and then we'll get into NASA.
Well, when look at this photo, like I can go to the coast here where I live in Vancouver, and I do see the sun sets and the sun shines underneath the clouds. Like this photo doesn't show it, but I've seen with the sun lighting underneath the clouds. I see it quite often.
Well, what you're seeing is actually the sun coming through the clouds, making it look like it's lighting the bottom of the clouds. Other times, you can see the sun reflecting off of the water, lighting up the bottoms of the clouds. It does bounce off the water. You have to really look at what you're looking at. But the whole argument, the sun under the clouds with Mount Rainier, has been completely and clearly explained away. So we're going to talk about perspective for a moment here. Let me get to here. So here we have we're looking straight up at a building, and the sun is just moving away. So maybe it was noon here, and now it's 1 o'clock here. So let me ask you a question. Did the sun go below the horizon, or did it just go past the building, beyond?
It just went past the building, Dave.
It went past the building. Very good. Very good. So just remember that. Remember that for a moment. All right. So here we have a perspective grid. Okay. And, we know how everything goes to a vanishing point, and that's how we see. They don't want us to really see that. And so here's a guy. Here's his eye line. That's his horizon, his horizontal eye zone. So I throw this mountain in here. What can we say about the top of this mountain? Is it above or below his eye line?
It is above his eye line.
Very good. Very good. I'm going to ask you very simple questions, and thank you for answering them. And
I saw this in your high school video. You're teaching high school kids.
All right,
I just
you
watched
saw
it
this
morning.
Oh, very good.
So I've seen this.
Very good. So now the sun is going beyond the mountain. He can see it if he went up higher, or if he went backwards, he'd be able to see it. So this line right here is above, thousands of feet above his eyes, but he sees it as his horizon. It looks like his horizon, right? And then we make the sun go beyond it, just like it went beyond the building. It didn't go below, it went beyond, but it appears to be at his eye line, but this line here is thousands of feet over his head. Add the clouds, the sun is above the clouds, the suns go away. Right here, the clouds are merging. This is like 25 miles away. So the mountain is thousands of feet above his head. The clouds, which are merging into that same line, are thousands of feet above the mountain, and the sun is above that. It went beyond it.
You're saying it went beyond. You're saying it didn't go under it. It went beyond.
It's just perspective. But that horizon, flat earthers say, and I used to say it, the horizon rises to eye level. The horizon appears to rise to eye level, but in fact, it's thousands of feet above your head. Thousands.
Okay, from a spherical perspective, we would say it's going under, and you say it's going beyond. I can understand the difference of view.
Let me show you one thing that maybe this will help. Where did it go? Been a while. Here we go. So did you see my flat earth kitchen? Can I show you that? Did you see that yet?
No, I didn't see the kitchen.
All right. So here we go. This is I have this line. It's level. I proved in the video it's level, and I'm just moving the sun along it. Now we're viewing it from a celestial point of view. We're viewing it from the height of the sun. So it's a level line. You can agree with that. Now this here, this could be mountains, city skyline, clouds, whatever. It's above it. It's opaque, and it's above it, and it never went below it. Now I have a terrestrial camera on the other end of the flat earth counter looking at it going away, and we're going to watch it from the other point of view. The same exact thing. And now look at this line. If I showed you this first, I'd say, is this level? You'd be like, no, it's going down. And I'd say, is this sun going below this horizon? Which is that.
Oh, no, it's not. It's going straight.
It's not, but it looks like it's setting below it.
Yeah, it looks that way. Yeah.
It looks, look at this line. This is level. This is level. And this is going beyond it. But if you believe that my counter was a sphere, you'd be going, no, it's going below it. And if we compare it to an actual sunset, look what's happening. What's the sun going behind here? This is called the atmospheric deck of opacity.
Yeah.
And it's just going beyond it. It's not going below.
Well, yeah, I see your point that it's going straight beyond it. But if the world was spherical, it would look the same way. So it doesn't prove it's not spherical.
Well, the fact that we can see farther than a sphere would allow us, that proves that it's either a bigger sphere or flat.
Well, that's the same 8 inches tomorrow question. But I want to ask, let's talk about NASA and the moon landing and the pictures of the Earth.
Yeah. So first, you want to talk about the moon landing, but we have to prove that you can have high pressure adjacent to an ether void, and which is scientifically impossible. So the fact that we're talking about the moon in fake space, it really is nothing. But I'm happy to talk about the moon. Let's talk about the moon.
Okay. Well, I understand. NASA does lie. The flat earth say NASA lies about everything. I've studied the moon landing. There's a really good video called "What Happened on the Moon." It's 3 hours and 40 minutes long, produced around the year 2000. And I believe that NASA faked the moon landing. They lied about it. They faked it. But in 1966, Gemini went up with color film in 1966, showing the spherical Earth in color film. So they didn't have CGI in 1966. So could NASA have faked films of the spherical Earth back during Gemini?
Well, saying they didn't have CGI or Photoshop or anything, I think they've had that for hundreds of years. It's just been hidden from us, all old world technology. But let's look at some of the stuff on the moon. So here is the launch, and they're filming out the window. And watch this shadow right here. See the shadow? Look at that shadow. When you go up, shadows disperse. Look at this little white, the white light around the shadow. This is an impossible shadow, okay? But this is what they showed us because they want you to think that you're going up. When you take a basketball, put it on the ground, see the nice perfect shadow below it, lift it up 10 feet in the air, you can't even see the shadow anymore. It disperses.
But this is from the Apollo landing films, right?
This is from taking off from the moon. Taking off from the moon.
You mean Apollo taking off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's fake. They faked the whole thing in a studio.
Okay, so what are we talking about?
Well, I'm saying NASA, I think it's a logical fallacy to say that because NASA lied about the moon, they lie about everything. NASA claims that the sky is blue. So the flat earthers deny the sky is blue. Is the sky purple? Because NASA says the sky is blue, and all mainstream media says the sky is blue, and our society says the sky is blue. Does that mean the sky's not blue?
That's it. That's a silly question. And the answer to the question is I don't use NASA to prove the Earth is flat. We don't need NASA. We can prove NASA's lying. I think we can both agree on that. I mean, there is no space station. No one's ever been to space. No one's ever been to the moon because the moon, in my opinion, isn't a physical object.
Well, no, I think we've been to space, but I think Gemini in 1966 really did do a spacewalk, and they really did film in color with film, in those days. The spherical Earth. I think NASA was honest about Gemini.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they're just using fisheye lenses and studios and all sorts of stuff. But
do you have any evidence? How could they fake that quality? Like you can see the countries and the continents day and night. How could they fake that?
I don't. You'd have to show me exactly what you're talking about. But let's look at some images of Earth.
Well, I'm sure you've seen NASA films from Gemini of the Earth.
Yeah, I have, and they show the guy going out there, and his head turns, so he's got a swivel helmet that can keep the air pressure in there. I'd like to see the engineering behind that. It's literally claymation what they were showing us.
But how do you explain the actual Earth? The Earth looks like a sphere in these 1960s videos.
Because it's all fisheye lenses. I mean, in 1927, Universal Pictures had a perfect spinning globe before anyone knew what it looked like, and then NASA went up and they had.
Yeah, but you can tell that's fake though. In 1927, you tell that's not a real film. That's an animation. But NASA looks like a real video, right?
We're gonna show that. But how did they know the shape of everything? How did they know what the Earth looked like before we ever got up there? So here is the 2012 image of Earth. Here's the United States, right? Looks pretty big. Where are the rest of the Where's the rest of the world? If we take the map of the world, we put that right there. All of this land is on the other side of this ball. All of the land.
I guess I'd have to look at the original photo.
Right. Well, here's the original photo right here, and it lines up perfectly. All of this land is on the other side of that ball. That's just ridiculous. Let's look
But
at
is that a ball? Like, is that the whole ball you're showing? Like, how far
That's-
away was the camera?
Well, it doesn't matter. This is what they're showing us. This is like a million miles away. All right. And the Earth is right. All of this would have to be on the other side. It's absolutely.
Yeah, that photo looks like it could have been faked, though.
Well, it is fake. NASA fakes everything.
Well, you're saying everything, right? That's a logical fallacy. Say that everyone lies, right? But they say they lie about everything.
Well, NASA, maybe not, but I haven't found anything. So, is this a photograph?
That's a photograph, yeah.
Is that a photograph?
Yeah, that's a photograph.
Is that a photograph?
I think they are, unless it's really good CGI.
No, it's not. They're paintings. They're hand painted.
Oh, these are hand painted.
These are hand.
Oh, I guess I was fooled then.
Well, there you go. So to say that that they don't have Photoshop. This is hand painted.
Yeah, but those are still photos. I'm talking actual video from Gemini in 1966. You see the clouds moving. You see the 1966 technology.
Why are they faking it now? And they went up and filmed it then, but now everything they show us is fake. I mean, here are pictures of the Earth, right? Look at the curved Earth. It's amazing. The colors, they're all different. So either 8 of them are fake or all 9 are fake.
No, but the camera and the film can change. Like the camera can change the color, right? It's not the Earth that's different color. It's the camera that does that.
When you look at the size of the continents, here's the United States, 2012, 2013, it's half the size. But we'll say different exposure.
Well, that might be fake. It might be faked on the left. That photo might be fake.
They're both faked. They're both fake. You can't just pick and choose and say, oh, well, that one's fake, that one's not fake. They're both fake. Here's another one. This is from NASA. Look at the curved Earth. This is from a video. And look, oh, you got the atmosphere. It's so cool. And you see the part of the space station. Amazing. But if you look at the land features, it's right here. That's all that we're showing. That
looks fake. The curve shouldn't be that big if that's the Nile in Africa.
Of course, but this is from NASA. Okay, this is from NASA. So yes, it's fake. It's fake. Here's another one.
That's a distortion of some kind. Yeah.
This is called a fisheye lens. This is what they use. And every time they show us space, it always changes. The curve changes not only from video to video, but within one video. They look one way, look the other, and the curve goes from flat to curved to convex. They don't seem to care, right? This is this. So this is just a fisheye lens.
Yeah, there could be a fisheye lens. That's true. There could be a fisheye lens.
They could be, right?
Yeah, but so what? So they use a fisheye lens. Is that so guilty?
Well, it basically it's showing that they're not in space. They're, you're making up excuses for something that they're faking. Here's we can actually physically drive across Mexico and Baja and say this is 934 miles, right? They tell us the diameter of the Earth is just under 8,000 miles, as you said earlier. Well, I'd have to be able to fit 8.5 of these in between. 8.5 doesn't even fit on this slide, right? So the Earth, that just proves another fake photo from NASA. Another fake photo.
Well, that's a bit complex with the depth and the diameter. That's a bit complex.
It's not complex at all.
Can you explain what's under the Earth? What's under the flat Earth? What does it look like?
No, I can't. Can you?
Well, it's a spherical world. There's nothing under the flat Earth.
How do you know that? Well, I don't know if there's anything under. I don't know what's below us because the deepest hole ever dug is the
7 miles or something?
7.8 miles. So if this was the apple was the Earth with a very thin skin, they barely drilled halfway through the skin, barely, maybe a quarter, an eighth of the way through the skin. They were wrong every step of the way. They're like, oh, no more rocks. They hit rocks. Oh, no more water. They hit water, right? Then they hit an impenetrable barrier, and then they're like, oh, well, we know what the next 4,000 miles are, right? This is a meme based on pseudoscience, based on conjecture. This is a molten magnetic core. you can't have a molten magnet. The Curie point, heat up a magnet before it melts and it will lose all its magnetism.
Well,
right?
maybe you're right. Maybe they're lying about the core. I think maybe they are lying. I'm not sure what the inside of the Earth is, but I still think it's spherical. But can you explain, like, why would they lie about the spherical Earth? Why? What's the profit in them for doing that?
Why the lie? That is the greatest question of all, and that's where somebody, when they run out of excuses for the ball, they go, well, why would they lie? What difference does it make? How would they lie? Well, the truth is, divine law is the law of God. Common law is the law of the land. Statute law and admiral maritime law is the law of the sea, or man's law. So in order to convince man to give up his divine rights, his God-given divine rights, and their common rights, they have to convince them that they're not divinely created in a divine world. So that's step one, right? They don't want you to know who you are, where you are, the power of your mind. They don't want you to know
that's probably true. I probably agree with that.
So they don't want you to know that that this world was made for us, that we're not just random specks of dust on a random speck of dust in an infinitely expanding, godless, or distant God universe. They don't want us to know that we're at the center of creation. They don't want us to know anything about who we are, right? So, they're hiding more energy, they're hiding more land, they're hiding technology, they're hiding resources, they're hiding free energy, they're hiding everything that would make us free. They're hiding God. They're hiding our divinity. They're hiding our ability to think. So why the lie?
Well, you're right. You're right about a lot of those points, but
yeah.
But why? Also, wouldn't airline pilots all have to be part of a conspiracy? I have a pilot's license myself. Does that mean I'm part of a? Because in order to fly a plane across the world, you have to know that it's a spherical Earth, don't you?
100% incorrect. I have airline pilots from American Airlines, from Delta, from Qantas. They're all talking to us, and many, many pilots. No, we had a KLM pilot that was explaining how the Earth cannot be rotating, cannot be spherical, and she was grounded the next day after being on the Globebusters show. So we have tons of pilots that are constantly telling us, that the Earth is not a sphere. And the thing is, they're just glorified bus drivers at this point, because pilots don't know how anything works. The new pilots in there, they don't know how anything works. If they say, well, how does that work? They're told in flight school, it doesn't matter. Just write down the numbers and do this thing. They don't even understand how gyros work, which actually prove the Earth is flat. So check this out.
Well, remember the gyroscope experiment done by the Beyond the Curve
so again,
film, and they proved that the world was spherical. It rotates 15% degrees every hour.
Brian, so you are Googling flat Earth stuff. You are wasting your time. You are completely and totally wasting your time. So what that was a hit piece on Netflix. That's where you're getting your information. And
I saw it on Netflix.
Yeah. So let me tell you. And what happened was they used this interferometer ring laser gyro, and it measured about a 15 degree per hour drift. And
that's right.
So hear what I have to say. So Bob, while still mic'd, he goes, yeah, we better not let the Globers know this, because they'll just go crazy. And they cut it. That's all they showed. They didn't show the rest of saying, what was it measuring? Was it measuring the ether turning or the Earth turning? So they did a second experiment where they went up to the top of Pikes Peak at the same latitude. I think it's like 10,000 feet. And they measured a significantly different rate of turn, which 100% proves it's not the Earth turning, it's the ether that's turning. So when you see this and understand that, why was that left out of the movie? Right? We were supposed to get the footage, all of the raw footage, and they didn't give it to us. They're like, nope, we sold it to Netflix, and you can't have any of the footage. And then also in that video, Jaron was doing a test where he had 3 holes in plywood a mile apart, and if you can put the laser through all 3 holes, that would prove the Earth is level. And what happened was lasers spread out. So we had a very expensive laser with a condenser on it, and the condenser melted and broke the laser before we could even do it. So he said, all right, well, let's just try it with a light. Hold the light. And he goes, can you see it? He's like, no. And then he's like, all right, now hold it over your head. Can you see it? And he's like, oh yeah, I see it. And Jaron goes, huh, interesting. Right? Because the thing is, when you hold your arm up, you're only holding it 2 feet over your head. He'd have to go up, I think, like 17 feet if the Earth was curved for him to see it. And he says, interesting. Then the guy brought it back down after the camera, they cut, and he goes, oh, I could see it again. I could see it. He could see it through the holes at the lower level. And so that could prove the earth is flat, but we're all like, too many obstacles. We're not doing. What happened was there was trees in the way, some bushes or whatever, and the wind was moving them around and it was blocking the light. So they left all of that out of the movie. On the app, on the debunking the debunker section, the top video is a 3-minute video fully explaining how that was just a complete and total hit piece. So
okay, I could watch that.
Yeah.
Sure. So getting back to pilots, so unless you want to finish that point.
Yeah. Here's the pilots. So this is what a pilot would have to be doing, flying over the Earth, right? Right here, the Earth is moving 1,000 miles an hour. It's moving 500 miles an hour here, and it's moving 0 miles an hour up here. How does that plane speed up and slow down with its tangential sideways speed to match the land speed?
It doesn't matter because it's all relative. The plane is moving along with the Earth and the atmosphere, so it doesn't make any difference.
No, it doesn't, because the plane is moving 1,000. So let's say you have a plane at the North Pole, right? So it's just pirouetting. It's not moving at all relative to space because it's on the Earth. Now it flies down to Ecuador and it lands on a runway that's north-south. That runway is moving sideways at 1,000 miles an hour. How does he land on that?
Well, the plane's moving with the atmosphere, which is moving with the Earth.
So even though winds blow left and right, and there's hundreds of miles an hour winds going following the spin of the Earth, and then going against the spin of the Earth at different altitudes, somehow the spin of the Earth is ignoring all of that. You haven't thought it through.
I'm saying that the air, the atmosphere of the equator, is moving 1,000 miles an hour along with the Earth. So the plane just goes along with the atmosphere.
Yeah, but that's not true. The atmosphere moves in all different directions. So here's something.
No, I'm saying it's going with the Earth. The atmosphere is not in conflict with the Earth underneath it.
Here's something to think about. All right, and this will clear all that up. So we're on an airplane and we're flying over the Earth, and we're diving down, but we're always keeping our we're on the top of the Earth. So we're going down. So in the distance, you would see the stars rising up as you're diving over. The stars would rise up. Make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so now let's take a look at reality. So here's a flight from Berlin to Brazil, diving over the ball, and these stars are not rising up. It's literally going over the ball. This star should be at their zenith as they go over, and it's not. Now, if you simulate this on Google Earth says, well, the stars should be doing this, just like I showed you in my cartoon. This is what Google Earth says should happen. This is what common sense says should happen. But it doesn't. So now the Globers come back and go.
No, I would say it does. If you do it for a few hours, they would be going up.
No, well, but look, this is going 4,000 miles. They went halfway over the ball, and
I didn't see 4,000 miles over a period of hours. You just showed me a few seconds.
This is wildly sped up. So we have videos where the Globers are saying, well, that's because you're going with the spin of the Earth, and the spin of the Earth is canceling it out, which is ridiculous because we're not going 1,000 miles an hour. But the thing is, if that was the case, when we went the other direction, the stars should be going twice as fast. It's like you're driving on a highway and there's a car in another lane driving the same speed with you. That's canceling it out. Now, if you turned around, you're going to go right by that car. So the same thing with stars. We found.
I'm just saying I haven't seen it for many hours. You're saying it's speeded up.
This is many hours. Yeah. Well, again, you have to take the time. You have to take the time, waste your time, as you said, and understand that if you took the time and found out that the stars do not rise, that might prove to you that the Earth is not a spinning ball. And then you have to ask yourself.
But there's tens of thousands of professional pilots who all say the world's spherical. There's a few who might say it's flat. But how do you explain these tens of thousands of pilots who have to plan on flying over a spherical Earth?
None of them plan on flying over a spherical Earth. Airplanes fly straight and level over the Earth plane. They take off, they turn on the autopilot, and they follow the coordinates. Nobody adjusts for curvature. The SR-71 goes 2,300 miles per hour. It would have to nose down 80 stories per second just to follow the curve. Right?
No, you don't have to deal with curvature because, you're curving with the Earth and you're the same distance off the ground. So you're not actually going with the curvature if you're just maintaining altitude.
Cool story, bro. But that's not how it works. It's not how it works at all. But when you say pilots have to plan the curve, Never, ever, ever do they plan on a curve. They fly straight and level from point A to point B. If we're on a three-dimensional sphere, we should have an X, Y, Z coordinate system. X to the left, Y forward and backwards, and Z how far down. So if I want to coordinate, like, hey, I'm going to go from the North Pole to New York City, I can figure out my X, Y, and Z axis. But we don't have that. We have X and Y. We have latitude and longitude. We don't have any Z axis, right? It's because the Earth is a level plane with hills and valleys, of course, but it is not a spinning ball flying through an infinite space vacuum.
Well, I saw on one of your videos how, say, in the southern hemisphere, they're going from, say, South America to Africa or other areas. They tend to hug the coast just for safety reasons. In case there's an engine failure, they're close to land. That's why they try to avoid these open spans of ocean unless they have to.
Is that what you're told? How about this? On a ball,
it's for safety reasons. They try to stay close to the land in case they have to force landing.
Well, that's cool story. But here on a globe, here's a flight route from Buenos Aires to Johannesburg. It stops in Amsterdam, goes all the way up here, right? Big ocean here, and all the way down. Why didn't it just go right across here? Why didn't it go right? Because this is what it looks like on a flat Earth. Let's look at another one just to help you out here, right? So here's one. Let's go to another one. Here we go. So from Qatar to Rome for more fuel, and then over to Buenos Aires. This is the World Cup soccer team. Why did they go here? Why didn't they just fly over here?
Well, maybe they just need to stop in Rome for business, get more passengers. Maybe
they didn't. This was a chartered flight for the World Cup soccer team, private plane, and that's what they stopped. And the story was they stopped in Rome for fuel, not to see the Pope, but if you look, they went from here to fuel and here. That's all they did. And here's another one.
But either way, it seems reasonable to stop for fuel in Rome on a spherical Earth.
Why? Because look, from here to here is not much different from here to here. Why didn't they stop?
Well, it might be enough to get gas. It might be enough for fuel.
You're making excuses that don't make any sense. You're not using your God-given common sense, right?
No, I think it's reasonable.
You think it's reasonable, but you're not really thinking. So let's look at this one. Here we go.
Yeah, also, you have the map. How do you explain the map? Like, it looks like Australia has to be like 8,000 miles across or something.
Have you measured Australia?
Can you show us on the map of the flight?
Have you measured Australia?
Can you show us the map?
Yeah, I will. Australia is wider than they tell us. Australia is huge, and a lot of it is unmapped. Australia is way bigger than they tell us. So
but I've got friends who live in Australia. I've done videos with people in Australia. They've been up from Perth, to the East Coast. They don't tell me this.
Well, have they done it? Why does a plane go all the way up here to Johannesburg or to Senegal and then down when it could just go across? If you look at it, this is a straight line. So,
well, maybe they do go across. Maybe some planes do go across.
They do not. They do not. Here's the thing: you got a ball. The top half of the ball is the northern hemisphere. The bottom half, southern hemisphere. And pick any two airports, any combination of northern airport to another northern airport. Never, ever, ever would the plane need to go below the equator. And guess what? They never do. Same thing should be true in the South. Right. In the South, going from a southern airport to another southern airport, but they all do. All the long flights, they cross the equator.
Well, how do I know they don't go directly from South America to South Africa? How do I know that?
Because we look at them. We chart them. We looked at emergency landings. Have you looked into emergency landings?
Well, I guess I have to check with airlines to see that they don't fly over the Atlantic. Maybe they do. I don't know. I haven't checked.
Yeah. Well, maybe you should waste your time and check. From New York.
Well, what about Australia? You were mentioning Australia. People have driven across Australia. It's not 8,000 miles across.
There's a lot of measurements of Australia. I don't have that stuff at the tip of my finger, so I'd rather not speak upon it. But Australia, it actually makes perfect sense the way it's shown on the flat Earth map. And another thing, when I show you on my app, wherever the sun is, I can call somebody that's underneath the sun on my app and say, what time is it? And they say it's noon and the sun's directly above me. And it works from the East Coast to the West Coast of Australia. So something is right about that. So right about here, from New York to Auckland, there was an emergency and they went to Fiji. They landed in Fiji when they were arguably closer to New Zealand. But if we look at it on a flat Earth map, Fiji's right on that flight path. It's right there.
Well, they might have been closer to Fiji than New Zealand, depending on how they're flying. It's hard to say what the reason was.
So how about this one?
Emergency.
How about this one? A flight from Hong Kong was going to the UK, but emergency stopped 12 hours later in Germany. 4 hours into the flight, a mother died. Her family traveling with her little kids, her husband. She's dead in her seat. So why didn't they land?
I heard that in your video.
Yeah, why didn't they land? Why didn't they land? And the answer is because they were over Russia. And people like me might go, wait a minute, you're over Russia? That kind of leads to a flat Earth map. So they have to ignore it. They have to.
It's okay to land in Russia. There's no problem landing in Russia politically. Well, they could do that.
Well, you're not supposed to. Supposedly, they're not supposed to. And Russia could probably be helpful, and that would spark world peace or something. And we couldn't have that. But they don't want us to do that because then we have absolute 100% proof that they're. Why are they over Russia? There's no reason to be over Russia. There's no reason.
Well, I guess an emergency landing of a plane doesn't prove that the Earth's flat.
Sure, it does. Watch this. New York, right, to Hawaii, and there was an emergency here. They went 1,000 miles out of their way to land in Seattle, and they got there in 15 minutes.
But I think with the spherical Earth, it makes sense to go over Seattle. Like I've flown to England before. We go over the North Pole.
This is the Great Circle route. This is the Great Circle route. This is where they're supposed to go. What'd you say? You flew from where?
Yeah, from Vancouver on the west coast of North America to London, England. We fly like over the North Pole practically because it's a spherical Earth.
Let's take a look at that. So, where'd you go? Flights. I had another one for you.
It's near Seattle. Vancouver's 3 hours.
Yeah, no, I'm
Seattle.
just trying to find it. Here we go. So this is from LA to Beirut. All right. Similar.
Okay. Yeah. See, I flew over Greenland. I actually saw Greenland with my own eyes.
Right. So look, it's a straight line on a flat Earth map. If we compare that to a globe, you're doing this ridiculous curve.
No, we still go over Greenland. See, we still go over Greenland.
I know, but why wouldn't you just go like this? The circle route will not. This seems way out of the way to me.
Well, you're not showing a sphere; you're showing a flat map, so it's confusing the audience. I think on a sphere,
when you look at it on a flat Earth map, and again, by the way, northern to northern never crosses the equator. They're very similar, not perfect, but the flat Earth map is always the route that they take. The flat Earth map.
This looks like a spherical Earth map. This
is a flat Earth map. You're seeing spheres because you've been programmed to see a sphere, right? You're seeing spheres. You think you're looking down at the top of a globe when in fact you're just looking down at the top. You're looking at a flat Earth map.
Looks like looking down on top of a globe. But can you show me the flat Earth map? I could critique Australia, for instance, and the ice wall all around the circle.
What about it?
Show me the map if you want.
What about the map?
Well, let's analyze the map. You can show us the map. You know, like you said, you haven't seen what's under the Earth and what's holding the Earth up, whether it's a turtle or what's holding it up. But you could show us the map, right?
Sure. And again, I don't know. This is new. We don't have a perfect map, but there is a lot of evidence that, where's the map? Is this it? Oh, that's wrapping it around a sphere to make you believe you live on a sphere.
I believe the sphere. I believe.
Why do you believe it's a sphere?
Is it because of authority figures? No, because I could see an eclipse with my own eyes. A few months ago, I saw an eclipse.
You saw an eclipse.
A spherical object always leaves a round shadow, but a flat plate would leave a line as a shadow.
So again, listen, Brian, you're watching Vsauce. You're watching all of the propaganda. You're being.
I saw it with my own eyes. I saw eclipse several times with my own eyes.
What did you see?
I saw a round circle blocking out the sun.
We're talking about
the moon.
Wait, are you talking a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse?
Well, both lunar and solar. I've seen it. You see the round shadow.
So let's talk about a solar eclipse. Okay, let's talk about a lunar eclipse. A lunar eclipse happens when?
It's when the sun is in the shadow of the Earth is in the shadow of the sun, and the shadows cast on the moon. But it doesn't leave a line shadow like a plate. only a spherical object. The ancient Greeks figured this out. Spherical object always leaves a round shadow.
Brian, I know exactly what videos have programmed your mind, because we don't believe that we're a disc in space. You're listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson, the complete and total failed actor liar. So here's what a lunar eclipse is, right? You got according to the heliocentric model, you got the sun, you got the Earth, and you got the moon. And as the Earth moves into position, it casts a curved shadow. Okay,
that's correct, and it's always a round shadow. It's not a flat line like a flat plate on the side.
You've said that 4 times already. I understand. We're not a flat plate. That's a straw man. Okay, we're not a flat plate. So here's the problem: when you cast a sphere, cast a shadow onto another sphere, it doesn't come in as a perfect curve. It comes in as an ellipse. It spreads out, and then it leaves as an ellipse. Right?
No, it's a circle. It's a perfect circle.
No, it doesn't. When you can do it yourself, get up 2 balls and a light and cast it, and you'll see. I can even show you. I have a video of it. But here's the problem. All right. The Selenelian eclipse happens when the observer can see the sun above his horizon and the moon above his horizon, and the eclipse starts already. And the problem was,
how's that happen? I mean,
there's been over 50 documented Selenelian eclipses, and you know what the scientists call them? The impossible eclipse. They call it the impossible eclipse because
you say there's 50. I've never seen 50 of those eclipses. Selenon eclipse. I've never seen any of these.
So look it up. It's the Selenelian eclipse. Selenelian. So here's the other thing. Last year, there was a Selenelian eclipse, and the shadow came in from the top. Think about that. The shadow came, the Earth is down here, allegedly, and the shadow came in from up here. Okay? What does that prove? It doesn't prove how eclipses happen on a flat Earth. It proves that the Earth is not causing a shadow on the moon. And by the way, you cannot cast a shadow 250,000 miles away to make a perfect line on the moon. It doesn't work that way.
It would be a circle, not a line.
Shadows disperse. Light disperses.
No, shadows don't. If I stand outside in the sun, my shadow is quite distinct on the grass in front of me.
So now stand up on top of a building and on the sun and lean over and look at your shadow on the ground. You don't see no shadow on the ground.
But the size of the moon is and the Earth is such that the Earth by coincidence blocks.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You cannot have a distinct shadow like that. It doesn't work at all. So we can.
I think you can have a distinct shadow.
I disagree. The shadow of the moon cannot do that to the Earth. So I'm trying to find. Here's an interesting little picture. So, what can you tell by looking at those shadows what shape the object is?
Well, if you turn that object, it'll change the shadow. But since ancient Greeks, we've always seen it's always a circular shadow on the moon. It's never anything different. This thing, if you turn it, you have a different type of shadow.
Right. So I'm saying that the Earth is not causing the shadow on the moon. It's something else. The moon is its own light.
What causes it? The Earth is the obvious thing. What is it then if it's not the Earth?
Well, the moon is clearly making its own light. A dusty, dirty ball does not reflect light so bright that I can read by it, and it casts a shadow on the ground.
But what makes a shadow, though?
I don't know if it's a shadow. I think that it's it's a darkening of the moon. There could be a dark body up there. It could just be the moon going through a phase. So when we
but it happens just at the time when the Earth is blocking the shadow, so it's not coincidental.
No, well, it happens when the Earth is crossing through a nodal point, and there's a whole bunch of different reasons why it could happen. On the app,
well, I can't think of any reason there'd be a shadow other than an eclipse.
On the app, go to the frequently asked questions page, go to the eclipses button, and spend a couple hours there instead of watching all the propaganda videos that you've been Googling.
Well, this is my own eyes. Since I was 10 years old, I saw my first eclipse. These are my own eyes.
But you're told what it is. Like you're looking up at a star and you're like, I see a star. It's 100 billion trillion miles away. Well, no, you can't see a gas ball in a vacuum at the sizes that they tell us at those distances. But
I think with the moon, I did actually see the shadow of the moon.
You saw the moon darkening. You saw the moon darkening. You don't know what did it. right?
Well, I think it was the shadow of the Earth
Here's the
blocking
you
the
think
sun.
because that's what you were told. So here's some eclipses, and then you chart them out on a regular globe flattened map. This is what they look like, but put them on a flat Earth map, they make a perfect circle, a beautiful circle. So that just must be a coincidence that they do that.
Well, we could look at your map. So is this the flat Earth map? Like Australia looks kind of stretched out there.
Well, actually, Australia looks kind of crunched to me, if you ask me, on the globe. I think Australia is way bigger. There's huge sections of Australia that nobody has access to. You know about the
Why
dingo?
not? Anyone can drive across Australia. It's a free country.
Certain areas. No, there's areas. You know about the dingo fences? There's fences that are going thousands of miles, thousands, and no one, and they're actively guarded. No one's allowed to cross them.
People can fly over them and take pictures.
Yeah. So I'm showing you a ball. This is a simulation. A ball casting a shadow on a ball, and it comes in as an ellipse. It circles out, and then it leaves as an ellipse. That's the nature of a shadow. This is something you can test yourself. Get a basketball and a tennis ball and a light, and you'll see that it stretches. It stretches. See, so watch the shadow. It comes in as an ellipse.
Well, that can happen with spherical objects, though, right? So what does that prove? It's still spherical.
A sphere casting an object onto a sphere doesn't show you what we see on the moon. That's the shadow on the moon.
I think it does, though.
You think it does because you haven't thought it through. You haven't done the eclipse. You haven't done the experiments. You haven't really looked at it. And we can take a straight edge and cast a curved shadow on a sphere. And I'm not saying that the Earth is a straight edge or anything like that, or it's casting a shadow, but we can recreate a perfect eclipse using a straight edge blocking the sunlight onto the moon, onto a ball. And it looks curved. So what's going on there?
Yeah. It's just that for thousands of years, it's always look round. But
well,
what shape do you think the Earth is? If you're not sure, it's flat.
I think the Earth is. I don't think there's
more continents beyond the ice wall. Well, there's more continents beyond the ice wall. You've shown in your videos.
I do believe that, but again, I have no proof of it. We need independent exploration beyond 60 degrees south.
What about like all the other planets around? I'm sure he's like Mercury's around, Venus around, Mars. I've seen Jupiter with my own eyes, and I've seen the 4 moons around Jupiter with the telescope with my own eyes. How do you explain? They all look spherical.
So how do you know what they are? You're just seeing some lights in the sky, and you're told that they're moons, rocks, and
no. I can see it looks spherical. Like I've seen the moons move around Jupiter. The 4 moons, I can see.
You see lights move around another light. That's all you see, and you're told that this fantastical story of that they're planets and they're moons, and those moons you can almost see them with your naked eye. They're reflecting light. What kind of reflective surface do they have?
Well, the sun's pretty bright. It can reflect off Jupiter that far away. Sure, it can reflect.
So wait a minute. Jupiter is made of gas. It's a non-reflective surface.
The light reflects off the gas.
Okay, so if you were on Jupiter, how big is the sun? Is it the same size we see it or smaller?
Be much smaller because it's further away.
So this further away, dimmer, smaller sun is reflecting off of the gassy, non-reflective surface. Gases basically absorb light.
No, gas reflects.
And
gas
it reflects back to Earth, and it's as bright as a star. It's as bright as the sun.
Jupiter is thousands of times bigger than the Earth. Is so big, and gas does reflect light.
Show me.
Why wouldn't a gaseous substance not reflect light? Why would it absorb light?
Because that's what it does. It'll absorb the light. It's not a reflective surface, right? The moon, though dusty, dirty rock, is not a reflective surface. And if you use the inverse square law of light, the moon would have to be many times brighter than the sun for us to see it at the brightness.
A cloud is a gaseous substance. A cloud reflects light. A cloud looks white and puffy and gray.
It's not reflecting light. It's not causing it doesn't look like the sun. It's lit up by the sun, but it's not reflecting a source light. Yes, when you see everything you see is reflecting light, but it doesn't get brighter. It doesn't get brighter.
A cloud reflects light, and planet Jupiter has clouds, and they reflect light. The same thing.
Yeah. So you believe that the distant small sun is reflecting off of Jupiter and coming back, and we can see it as a super bright object in the sky.
Well, we see it as a star or a big planet, but it still looks like a bright star. It doesn't look.
It looks like a bright star. So, is this the sun or the moon that's rising?
That
Is
it's
it?
hard to tell.
It's hard to tell. Is it spherical? Looks
Looks kind
spherical.
of round. Looks round.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's not. It's a train, and it's got different colored lights, and it's got rectangular lights. But you saw it as a sphere because, if there's no way for this to come closer, and NASA told you that that was a moon sitting, in the distance on the horizon, you'd believe it because that's what
Well,
you
with
were
the
told.
telescopes, I can see quite good. Like with the sun, I can see the sun with visors. I can look at the sun.
And by the way, the shape of the lights in the sky have nothing to do with the shape of the floor that we stand on. They have nothing to do with it.
But why is it that all planets look spherical? So why wouldn't the Earth be spherical?
Because we're not a planet, right? And they look spherical just because I showed you, showed you, how everything in the distance looks spherical. That's how our eyes work, right? That's
the moon. We can see it quite close up. The moon looks spherical.
I think the moon is spherical. Honestly, I do. Why do we only see one side of the moon? That's interesting.
Yeah, well, I think it's an artificial satellite put there by aliens, and it's hollow.
That's a cool story, bro. A very cool story. The moon, they tell us that this crater is 40 miles wide. How do we see something 40 miles wide at 250,000 miles away? You can go on Google Earth, put a circle that's 40 miles wide, and then zoom out as far as they'll let you, which I believe is only like 20,000 miles or something, and you can't see it. It gets so small. But we can see it with our naked eye. What does that prove? That doesn't prove what it is or anything. It proves that.
Well, you might need binoculars. But you yourself, you think the moon is spherical, so why wouldn't the Earth be spherical?
Because the moon isn't terra firma. I don't believe the moon is a physical object. Because the lights in your ceiling are circular. Because the lights in your ceiling are circular, does that mean that that the floor is spherical? Right? Are these?
What is it if it's not a physical object? What is it then?
Are these planets flat or spherical?
Well, those look spherical to me.
Yeah, well, they're bottoms of frying pans. But if NASA told you that they were planets, you would believe it. Okay?
Yeah, but you yourself, you believe the moon's spherical, and it looks because you can see depth when you look at it.
It doesn't matter. But what I'm showing you is you will believe anything you are told. Okay? If NASA,
well, no, I don't believe anything I'm told. I don't believe there is flat. People tell me there's flat, but I don't believe that.
you'll believe anything that fits in your paradigm, right? What are we looking at here?
Maybe it's a single cell amoeba, maybe.
No, that's the star Sirius, right?
Oh, okay.
And this is when we zoom in on Mars. This is what Mars really looks like. What's that? Is that a sphere?
Well, that could be a sphere. Yeah, the light refraction.
It's the light refraction.
To look that way,
right? And how about this? Is this is what NASA tells us Mercury looks like, and this is what it really looks like. But hey, that's because our optics aren't very good. It's a little out of focus, right? But this is what they want you to believe, right? In reality, this is what reality shows us. It's a pulsing.
Well, we have telescopes. We can look at Mercury with telescopes.
And you can see this. This is what you will see.
I think it'd be more like the other image. I think it looks
you're incorrect. Go ahead and take a look. You've never done it. You just believe. I guess
it's going to take me a lot of time, huh? It's going to take me a lot of time to prove they're spherical.
Well, it's going to take you a lot of time to prove to yourself that it's not spherical. But there you go. So, I think
how do you explain stars? Like, is there a dome covering the atmosphere? A dome covering the Earth?
So think about this. We're on the Earth, and we're traveling at 500,000 miles an hour. Traveling we're traveling 4.4 billion miles a year. 4.4 billion miles a year. So the Earth is, not only is it circling around the sun, it is
that looks right.
Yeah, well, it's actually this is
going around the galaxy as well, right? Going around the galaxy. This way,
but none of the stars ever change. Never in your lifetime or in all of history have two stars crossed each other's path due to parallax. Never.
It's because they're so far away. I mean, at night you see the stars say rotating because the Earth's spherical and it's turning. So that's why the stars rotate. The North Stars are one place. I mean, because the stars are so far away and so vast.
So do you know about the Georgia Guidestones?
Yeah, I've seen the Georgia Guidestones.
So do you know about the hole that looks at through the Guidestones?
No, I don't know about the hole. Tell me about that.
So the Georgia Guidestones have a hole right here. And when you look through it, any time of year, day or night. You can't see it during the day, but North Star is right through that hole, tiny little hole. All right. And so we're moving 186 million miles back and forth from each side of the sun, traveling 4.4 billion miles a year. And Polaris
but the
never
whole
moves.
galaxy is rotating. The whole galaxy is working together, so it's all relative. The whole galaxy is rotating. That's why they're
No, but all the galaxies are together, but the stars are binary stars. They say that 80% of the stars in our galaxy are binary, which means they're orbiting around each other. So everything's going in its own direction. The entire thing is spinning, and never ever have two stars cross. So let's stay on Polaris for a second.
Well, because we're going around. The whole galaxy is going around.
Focus.
26,000 years to go around.
Focus.
Binary stars don't matter. They're just together.
So you're claiming that Polaris is so far away that all of that movement keeps it in the same place. But that's not the full heliocentric story. The story is we're also wobbling. And 2,000 years ago, we had a different North Star. Okay.
Yeah, that can change. Yeah, that can change.
So, and they're saying that we're every 76 years, we move 1 degree. 1 degree is 3 moon widths of the sky. Okay. So the Georgia Guidestones were put up in 1981. That's over 40 years ago. That's more than a half a degree. So Polaris should not have been in that hole anymore, according to the heliocentric model. If you believe that it's so far away that all of the movement doesn't have any parallax, but the wobble doesn't matter how far away it is because it's wobbling, it's already moved a half a degree. It should have been over a moon width out of that hole, but it wasn't. And the fact that we were bringing it up, pointing it out, and people are going, aha, then all of a sudden somebody blew up the Georgia Guidestones, and within hours they bulldozed the whole thing.
Well, I think that's kind of an obscure point. People think, well, maybe the world's flat, because I don't understand that. But it's too obscure of a point to prove that the world's flat.
Brian, I just gave you an undeniable proof that the Earth is not wobbling or spinning or going, and you're just throwing out nonsense now. You're throwing out absolute nonsense.
I know I'm saying I don't really understand that point, but that doesn't mean the world's flat.
Well, you don't understand that point. It means that the Earth is not spinning or rotating or wobbling. That's what it means. Okay?
Well, I guess I don't understand that part. I don't see how it means that.
So here's what I suggest: you need to go to my website and go and watch the videos on the crash course instead of watching the propaganda stuff that you've been fed. If you want,
I guess I'm in this far. I'll have to spend some time. My time. Go on your website. Okay, I'll go to your website. I'll take a look.
And so you scroll down, flatearthdave.com. Scroll down to where it says, you see a big picture of me. It says crash course, and there's a list of videos there. Just take your time, watch those videos, make some popcorn, non-GMO, of course, and watch the videos and think about them, and then go verify everything yourself. You'll if you're honest with yourself, you will end up seeing it. So there you go. I mean, we can go on and on, but we started late, and I got another show coming up.
Yeah, no, so, but is there a dome though? In your view, is there a dome?
I believe that the sky is flat, and I don't know how far out it goes. But there is something. I believe that the stars are embedded in the dome of some sort. And I don't even know what the dome's made of. I don't know. I think at about 72 miles up, there is a plasma field, or there's an ether, if you will. That's when we see SpaceX going up there, skimming across, leaving a wake. Looks like water. I think they're not hitting the dome. I think the dome is much higher than that. I think they're hitting the etheric realm. Layer up there that they're hiding from us. They call it the Van Allen radiation belts. They call it lots of things. All right.
You know, when you have a rocket takes off, it curves to one side. That's because it has to achieve orbit to go around the Earth. Yeah. It's not trying to hide from the dome. It goes right through the atmosphere and goes around. Yeah, the flat earthers say, "See, it's curving."
Well, that's you're watching a lot of propaganda, and it's really captured your mind. If you look at all rocket launches, they just curve and they go down. And if you look at airplanes, they're flying straight lines. The ones that are leaving those big trails behind them, you can see a perfectly straight line. But if you watch any rocket launch carefully, you'll see that it's complete and total fakery, all different kinds of fakery.
Well, I think they curved again. Are you saying that there's an ice wall, or Antarctica goes around the circumference? There's an ice
I say
wall.
large bodies of water at rest need containment. Large bodies of water need containment. The edge of a lake has land that's higher than the lake. The edges of the ocean have land that's higher than the ocean. Antarctica is the highest land on Earth, and that's.
Can you show us the map again before you go, like the map with the ice wall around it?
Here it is, right here. Here's the map. Here's the map. Here's Australia, South America,
Okay.
US. Here it is, and here's the shoreline. Not a wall. It's a shoreline. Let me ask you a question. If you had a wall that was 10 feet thick, would that be a thick wall?
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Okay. So what if it was 10 miles thick? Is that a thick wall?
That's
Pretty
a thick wall.
What if it was 5,000 miles thick? Is that a thick wall? Is that a continent?
Well, I guess that'd be a continent if it's
5,000.
Yeah.
So Antarctica, we do not know what's in the outer areas of Antarctica. It could go on for thousands of miles. There could be other lands out there, other oceans, other ponds. We don't know. We don't know, and we're not allowed to go there. Okay. I personally think that there's plenty of other continents out there. I think that there's other civilizations out there. I think that we have trade routes going out there. If you go on my channel, DITRH, and find the videos about the outer lands, we found cargo ships way inside of Antarctica. Like, wait a minute. How can a cargo ship be 900 miles inside the shoreline of Antarctica? But if you unwrap it, they're just going to the outer lands.
Do you have evidence of this? Like they've been 900 miles inside of Antarctica?
I will show you one more, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time, Dave. I appreciate the video. I'm glad we did this.
Okay, no problem. Antarctica. Here we go. And let me find it. All right, so here is you can go, anyone go look up a ship tracking site, and these are ships all over the place. Here's Antarctica, and we found these ships that were the 730 miles inside of the shoreline. The closest bay is right here, 730 miles.
Wow. There's a ship in there.
Yeah, it's a ship, and according to Google Maps, that was like an opening, like a channel that opened up, whatever. The walls would be almost 2 miles high, because that's how high they tell you Antarctica is at that location. Then we found another one, zooming out a little bit, 905 miles. That's almost in the middle of Antarctica. Okay,
that's a boat that sailed there.
An active boat, a cargo ship. And no, I think this one said a fishing vessel, right? They always say fishing vessels. There are always fishing vessels out there. Okay. So hang with me. This is going to take a minute. All right. So what are we seeing? So I think that we're seeing this. I think that those ships are going out here, right? Remember, all of that's wrapped around, and all of this is hidden. All of this is hidden. So let's look. So we clicked on one of the ships. When you click on a ship, it'll tell you what this is actually a video of the ice wall, by the way. This is the shoreline of Antarctica, but that's follow me where I'm going. So you click on the ship, and it tells you a lot about the ship. It tells you, where it's going. This one didn't tell us anything. All it told us is that it's from the nation of Kiribati, and that it's 580 meters long and 80 meters wide. That's a friggin' gigantic ship. And if we look, you can't even see Kiribati. That's why I had to put a pin on it. And it's literally a friggin' sandbar, right? But China, America, Vietnam, they all say that this is a very, very, very important trade route. China gave them $10 billion a couple of years ago. The U.S. gave them billions also. What is going on here that they need that's an important trade route? So let's look a little further. We look at the Kiribati, and somebody found the Captain Cook Hotel. Bed and breakfast. Interesting. Captain Cook is the guy that supposedly tried to circumnavigate Antarctica, went over 68,000 miles, and it took him 3.5 years. So if we look at some of the ships.
Well, wait a minute. 68,000 miles, 3.5 years. I didn't read that in Captain Cook's biography. 68,000 miles. I never read that.
Take a look up. There's also James. I forget the other guy name. There's a couple guys that did it, and that no one's been able to circumnavigate Antarctica. It should be very short, 11,000 miles, or it should be pretty easy circumnavigate. We looked at these ships that were at Kiribati that has this gigantic pier, and their destinations were either unknown or Christmas Island. Now, some people say Kiribati is called Christmas Island. Sometimes Christmas Island, there's another place. We don't know. All I know is Christmas, the whole Santa Claus, Satan Claus, NASA with the minus, with the Satan minus the T. It's weird. It's just weird. So it doesn't prove anything. I'm just pointing out a couple things, right? So if we look at the time zones, right? Time zones on a ball should be 24 lines from the North Pole to the South Pole, dividing it up like sections in an orange. And that's that's what it should be.
24 hours in a day.
That's what it should be, but it's not. Okay. It's not. You have this weird thing right here. If we take a closer look at that, that we have this line here that crosses over 3.5 time zones. And right here,
I think that's just because of what people choose to have at a time. Each country picks its own time. That's a political decision.
That's what we're told. Cool story. But right here is Kiribati in a very weird spot. An important trade route here, middle of nowhere. No one knows about it. We didn't see it in congressional hearings that they gave them $10 billion, right? What's going on here? So I personally think that that Kiribati is an important trade route, and this is the trade route out here. Maybe they're trading computer chips. Maybe they're trading tuna fish, weapons, or children.
So it's a conspiracy. It's a secret, and all these people are in on the secret.
Well, here's a question. Let me ask you a question. How did that ship get in the middle of Antarctica? How come you don't know about it? How come we're giving them all that money? And if this was true, how the hell would you ever know about it? Because you never even heard about Kiribati before this conversation.
Yeah, I never heard of Kiribati, but how do you know that ship was 900 miles in?
Because we look at the ship tracking site, and there was a line of ships one day. There was like 3 or 4 of them in a straight line going through Antarctica.
Okay, so on the website you're saying?
Yeah, on ship tracking websites. And since then, they've been trying to clean it up, but I believe you can still see them now and then in very weird spots. So again, there's tons of information that's being hidden from you. You can find it on the app. You can find it on my website. Don't care where you go. Just take the time and research. Time, it's easy to believe. You believe that whatever, because belief is easy. It takes no effort. To know something, you have to take the time and effort to know it. Hey, Brian, thanks. Appreciate it. FlatEarthDave.com. Sure. Anybody that sees this and wants to have a conversation with me, feel free to reach out on FlatEarthDave.com. Have a great day.
Well, last question, though. Is Eric Dubay legitimate authority on the flat earth? Or wasn't he the king of the flat earth in 2015? Didn't he start all of this?
I don't know if he started. He was one of the first guys out speaking. He put out some really great stuff. But, Eric Dubay has some really good information, and he's also a bit of a prick. So, do I discount everything that he says? No, I actually feature his book, Flat Earth FAQs, which you can find in the book section. I actually have it listed in the book section. It's probably one of the first books. Let me see. Books. Flat Earth FAQ right here. This is a great book.
Okay.
And if you're a book person, have that. Sit down and read that, when you're chilling out and have a cup of coffee. It's got all of the questions answered with images, and it's all nice and concise. But is he the king of flat earth? No, he's the king of assholes is what he is, but he's a great flat earther also.
Okay, I appreciate your time. Thank you, Dave. It's been good doing this video with you.
Brian, I wanted to strangle you at some points, but I like you. So have a great day, man.
You have a great day, Dave.
All right, see you. Bye-bye.
Enjoy the sun of Mexico. Okay,
right,
see you.
Bye-bye.